Hump Day, everybody. Welcome back to the Fumble Live. I hope you all got your fill of some good tacos and margaritas yesterday for Cinco de Mayo. I know I did. So before we jump into all of the latest sports news that I know you guys want to know, make sure you subscribe, tap the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. And now for the intros, I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
It's your boy Chris. You can find me everywhere at CK2K.
I'm Jackie Ray. You can follow me on all social media at JRayTheFanatic.
And it's your girl, Britt Johnson. You can follow me on all social media at IamBrittJohnson.
Okay, so I know we were just talking about this before we went live, but Britt, you said you made some really good food yesterday and margaritas for Cinco de Mayo. So what'd you make?
I made Spanish rice, but I did it with brown rice instead of white rice. A little bit healthier. I did black beans, enchiladas, tacos, and of course, the most important thing, fresh homemade margaritas. They were so good. I had like 4 of them. It was great. It's a great day.
Girl, you did a good job. I love enchiladas so much. So I'm jealous of your dinner. I had tacos and I had margaritas too, but I don't like tequila, so I used vodka instead of tequila, so it really wasn't a margarita at all. But
yeah, no.
It's still
That's
good.
like a kamikaze, basically a kamikaze.
Right.
Okay, I've never even heard of that drink. Anyway, I guess I had kamikaze last night, but there was lime, and so it was good. Jackie, did you make anything delicious for Cinco de Mayo?
I had delicious food delivered for Cinco de Mayo. There's a really dope Mexican restaurant down the street, and because they know me, they also delivered some, my 2 favorite. I had a strawberry and a mango margarita, and I had seafood enchiladas, which is delicious. And then I had a half a bottle of tequila left, so I did some tequila shots. It was really weird doing all that by myself, but
By yourself?
I did.
Did you drink the half a bottle? Like you finished the half a bottle of tequila? That's what I need to know.
I will neither confirm nor deny if the bottle is still here or not.
That's my girl. That's my girl.
Great answer. Great answer.
Okay, Chris, now tell us what you had for dinner yesterday. Can you top what we
The
had?
same thing. No, I can't talk. It was the same thing though, because I have a spot that's right around the corner. That's like a hole-in-the-wall Mexican restaurant that I go to all the time. I love their food, so we order from them. But no margaritas over here. I'm not a margarita guy, so I was out here being a daredevil, and I was drinking some Coronas. That's what I drank yesterday. I didn't, no margaritas over here.
That's great.
Wow, Coronas. How timely.
Look at me, right? Daredevil.
Okay, you guys, I'm going to jump right into our need to know news. We have a lot to get into, and I'm really excited to see what my fellow co-hosts have to say about all of the new updates. So first, let's discuss Kevin Durant. So he has a bone to pick with Ethan Strauss, who's the former Warriors beat reporter. He now has a book all about the Warriors dynasty. KD has taken issue with Ethan in the past. So back in January of 2019, after kind of a disappointing Warriors loss to the Rockets, Ethan wrote that the team was focusing more on making sure that KD was happy instead of focusing on winning, and that was putting a lot of pressure on Steph. So I can see why KD would not be head over heels for this guy after that kind of article. We also recently talked about how KD accused the writer of attempting to rile up Steph's fans, which caused him to develop an even stronger dislike for this guy. But now Ethan revealed that when he reached out to KD for an interview for his book, KD just responded writing, "F you, F your sources, and your book." So he's not holding back on anything. Now, Jackie, I want to direct this question to you first. Is KD being overly sensitive, or do you think he has a right to have such an angry reaction to Ethan's interview request?
Well, I think I've shared several times that I'm petty. So no, he did not. It's not over the top at all. I feel like if you, because and as a reporter too, you kind of have to build a rapport with people, and that if you fail to do that, then you'll to be able to get an interview when you really need it. So you can't really talk trash about me and then be like, "Hey, bro, can you help?" No, bye. I feel like KD is spot on with this one, and I never say that, but yeah, he's right on this one.
I know. I have to admit, I was expecting you to go in on KD for being too sensitive and too dramatic, but I guess you're Team KD here. I'm shocked.
Yep, Team KD. One and only time.
Well, Britt, I want to ask you, do you feel like the media and people like Ethan played a big role in how KD was received by the Dub Nation, or do you think that that's just a KD thing, being kind of dramatic, being a little bit sensitive when he's not regarded as the greatest player to ever, bless the Warriors team?
Interesting question. I feel like the fans kind of did it first because KD did it first to himself when he goes to the Warriors after they were up 3-1 on the series against them and then ended up losing. So I think that he kind of did a little bit to himself, and he has to, I always say, the villains and the heroes in the league. And because the Warriors are such a hero team, to have a guy like KD go in there, he's automatically going to be even more hated and more dissed or whatever, because he is kind of a low-key villain after even just going to the Warriors in the first place. And then, how Russ reacted with it and not telling Russell Westbrook and him having to find out last minute and all of this kind of stuff. So he does it to himself, but obviously the media runs with storylines, and they have to sell a headline and stuff like that. So if it's at KD's expense, they're going to do it, and they don't care. But it is slightly warranted, but also he was taking care of himself. He wanted to go win a championship. He thought he could do it with the Warriors and whatever the case. So I don't diss any player for going to play wherever the hell they want to play, because that's their choice to do it. The league fought really hard to get the players the opportunity to have free agency and get to pick where they play. So it's warranted in a sense that, yeah, that's actually what happened, but it's not because, he could do whatever he wants to do. And obviously the media is just going to expand stories and make stuff and carry stuff on even years after he's left that team and moved on with his life. They still talk about the same stuff. So yeah, the media pokes at it and keeps doing that, but it is what it is. He did do it, but the media is always going to poke at stories and make stuff bigger than what it really is.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on into our next need to know news story. So this one is all about Lamelo Ball and where he could potentially end up. So he's obviously one of the top draft prospects that we have right now, and there are several teams who are interested in landing him, and we've learned that a 3-team trade could be in the works to get Lamelo to the Raptors. So Rashad Phillips said, quote, "I believe the Toronto Raptors will try to move up and get him, and if the Raptors can somehow get that number 1 pick out of Golden State in a 3-team trade with Philadelphia, Toronto, and Golden State, if they can mix some players and money around, I believe the Raptors will take LaMelo Ball at number 1. He explained why the Toronto team is so interested in LaMelo. He said, "I just believe that he is the flair of the game. He understands the platform, the entertainment, the pulse, and his ability to score, his knockdown shots, his vision, his size. He's just a kid who's bred to play at this level. So I'm extremely excited to see what he's going to bring to the table for an NBA franchise and its fans." Now, how this whole thing would work, he said, quote, "Ben Simmons' inability to make jump shots and Joel Embiid's ability to want to shoot jump shots, I just don't think it's a good mix. If I'm the Raptors, I'll trade Kyle Lowry to Philly. Philly needs a point guard. I believe Kyle's one of the premier point guards in the NBA. Philly needs that. I would send Ben Simmons to Golden State for maybe a pick and some players. If I'm the Raptors, I'd try to get in the mix to get LaMelo Ball." So, Britt, do you see this 3-team trade happening? Is there anything about this that doesn't seem realistic or seems surprising to you?
I don't see this happening. I think the Toronto Raptors need to cool it a little bit because everyone got pissed off at them originally when they traded DeMar DeRozan, who literally committed his life to staying with the Raptors, took a lesser salary to stay with that team, and then they go and trade him to the Spurs to get Kawhi Leonard, who, yes, won them a championship, but left him 1 second later. And the next guy in line for being the face of a franchise is Kyle Lowry. He is that guy in Toronto, he's been playing there forever. People love him there. They respect him there. And I think they're going to piss off their fans really bad if they decide to trade him because of what he's meant to that organization, being the second guy behind DeMar DeRozan. So I get that the Raptors moving forward need to find a face of the franchise kind of guy, because I don't think necessarily Kyle Lowry is that guy, but you don't trade his position to replace him. I just don't see that happening. I don't think that's a good move for them just because they are going to continue to like bite themselves in the butt because yes, you did win a championship. That's all cool. But the guy left because he didn't really care. I feel like you could have done great things with DeMar DeRozan staying there, and you don't want to be that franchise that ends up having a bad rep for literally kicking out your star players or the guys that literally said they're going to stay with your team. Like it was on the level of if Dame Lillard got traded from the Portland Trailblazers. Like, people would be so pissed off at that because Dame literally says he will stay with that team and fight with that team and struggle with that team, like, for good or for better or for worse or whatever. So I don't think that's a good move to even try to move Kyle. I think you let him finish out his career unless he decides to move himself somewhere else. But I get the idea of wanting to get a new star to come in there to be the face of that franchise because they don't really have, like, a superstar like that. But that's the wrong move. I would not do that.
Yeah, I was surprised hearing about their willingness to trade Kyle. I also thought that seemed a little bit strange. But if that were to happen, Chris, I want to know your thoughts on how you feel LaMelo would fit in on the Raptors.
He wouldn't. He makes absolutely no sense for that team. I don't understand where this news came out in the first place because he doesn't. And I love Melo. I'm a Melo stan. I want him to do well at the next level. It's just that team. I feel like he doesn't fit what that team does. They are hard-working. I'm not saying he's not, but they're defense-minded, ball-moving, and that's probably the one thing that LaMelo is a pro on for that team. But I feel like on the defensive end, especially in his first few years, is going to rip poor Nick Nurse's hair out. And I don't understand why they would flip Kyle Lowry for that project when the Raptors right now are still a team that can still possibly compete in the East. And a person that I feel wasn't even mentioned was Pascal Siakam is there too. And he is a budding star to be for that team. And he, just like Kyle Lowry, seems like he's pretty comfortable being with Toronto for the entirety of his career. So I don't know. The whole thing just doesn't make sense to me. But if we're talking about if they did draft him, I love Melo, but I just feel like it would be a bad situation for both teams, and he's gonna end up walking the first time he's able to sign his own contract.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Jackie, what about you with Ben Simmons on the Warriors? Do you feel like that would be a good fit? Is that something that you could even see happening?
No, I mean, I don't even understand how that would make sense. The Warriors as they are fine, and we know that Ben's not a shooter like that. He's, that's a shooting team. I don't know what he would add that they don't already have. I think that everything, not the Warriors. I think you leave Ben Simmons where he's at, to be honest, and let him, I don't know, like I'm trying to think where I would put him outside of this, but I didn't have time to really think about it, but definitely not the Warriors. No. Short answer is no.
Can I piggyback on that? Can I piggyback on real quick? If the initial trade is if this happened, if they were trading Kyle Lowry for Ben Simmons, I feel like that is the best situation right there. If that were to happen, that's the better situation right there than going and trying to get LaMelo Ball. Like, if you're trading Ben Simmons for Kyle Lowry, keep that. Like, I feel like Ben Simmons would fit the Raptors perfectly if that was a move to happen. And I feel like Britt said, they would riot. They would be very upset because Kyle Lowry's gone. But I feel like in that situation, Ben Simmons would rile the troops back a little bit in the fan base, and they would probably be okay with that move because that is a pass for his team, and that fits Ben Simmons to the T. And perfectly. He is a solid defender. It just would make too much sense. So I don't understand why they would do that and then move him to the Warriors. The whole thing is just this dude was in his basement making this whole thing up and saying that it was a report that he heard. I don't know. The whole thing sounded fishy to me.
I know. That sounds a little fishy. Here we are talking about it. I mean, it was worth mentioning. It's an interesting thing to consider, this big 3-team trade, but it does seem a little bit outrageous. Now let's get into something else that, could be outrageous to some. Jackie, you might very well be joining Chris in the Knicks fandom. So Mark Berman of the New York Post says that despite his age, LeBron may be motivated to play in another big city before he retires, and that big city could be New York. with the Knicks. He said, quote, "I will never rule this one out, especially for his last season before retiring. James has said that the Garden is his favorite arena to play in. A lot depends on not just how his Lakers title journey pans out, but his son Bronny's timetable. We've always known that LeBron wants to be in the league at the same time as Bronny, so he's going to be trying to extend his pro ball career as much as possible. His contract with the Lakers expires in 2020. So I guess perhaps the Knicks will be his next spot. Chris, how would you feel about LeBron joining the Knicks? Is this something that you like? You don't like it? Tell me all your thoughts.
Look, he broke my heart in 2010. Okay, I don't want him in my damn Knicks jersey anymore. No, I get what Mark Berman's saying. Like, I understand the reasoning behind it. I know people are going to read into it that, Knicks are being stupid and hoping that LeBron. He's right. I mean, because we know at that point when Bronny is coming into the league, more times than not, the Knicks will still probably be in the lottery. So there's that opportunity that we might draft Bronny. And if that happens, I feel like that is the only way that LeBron James ends up being a Knick, if he truly does want to play with his son rather than compete with his son when he's on probably his last year's career. That is the only way. And I feel like that's what Mark Berman was trying to get across with this article. That's the only way I can see him being a Knick. Other than that, no, I don't want him. He can stay where he's at. You broke my heart in 2010. I'm done with you, LeBron. I'm still rooting for you. Just done with the dream of you being a Knick. But yeah, like
Chris
I
on Team Petty. I love it.
Can we just like point out that maybe everybody drank tequila yesterday, so that's why we have these bogus stories today. Let's just point that out, okay? Everybody was drinking a little tequila yesterday.
A little bit, yes.
I think these are good conversation starters. I'm liking what we're saying here, but
like when you're in a bar, right?
Right, exactly.
So Jackie, you follow LeBron wherever he goes. Can you see yourself becoming a Knicks fan? How likely is this to happen in your opinion?
Oh, that would be comedy. Please, Jackie, I cannot wait for this.
That is. First of all, that's gross. That's really gross. But but look, here's the thing, and I know Chris is like ready for me to pounce on him. So there's a lot of conjecture in this whole thing. Number one, there's a ton of players that say they love playing in Madison Square Garden. None of those players actually want to play for the Knicks. So just because you like to play in a certain location doesn't mean you want to play for that organization. That's first and foremost. Number two, I know we're thinking that the Knicks are going to be trash long enough for Bronny to get into the draft so that they can have the lottery pick. But let's not forget the Cavs are trash right now, too. So in my head, Bronny is drafted to the Cavs. LeBron can go home, play out one season in Cleveland, and then we can retire his jersey. And then this is my fairy tale, same fairy tale I want for Dez. So that's what is going to happen. We're not going to New York. Nobody wants to go to New York. I mean, I don't personally want to go to New York, but I said the same thing about LeBron coming to LA. This was the last place I wanted him to be. And now my whole apartment has got so much purple and golden and it's ridiculous. So I clearly my ability to just say no, I would probably make LeBron jerseys. I would not purchase Knicks jerseys, or I would probably sneak and steal some stuff from Chris and then just write LeBron on it. But I would never purchase anything from that organization. It would not happen, but I would watch, sadly. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I would have a LeBron jersey. It just wouldn't be senior. It would say junior on it. It would say junior on it if that was the case. I'm not getting the senior jersey. I would Bronny.
I would scratch it off.
Oh my god!
That would be cute. It would be cute to have the junior and the senior. I would personally make both. I would not actually purchase anything from the Knicks organization.
I can't.
Maybe fan club and go to the games with him. You guys can be there together.
She's not invited. She's not invited.
You see the pettiness? Do you see the pettiness?
Not invited.
Britt, I want to hear from you on all of this. Like, can you see LeBron in a Knicks jersey? Is this something that you would support, or are you pretty indifferent about it?
I don't give a shit. I don't care where he plays or where he goes. I think it'd be cool if he played a season with his son. I actually think it would be cooler if he played against his son. I think that would be more fun to watch personally.
Me too. Yeah.
That might be good if they played, I don't know, a season together if they really want to do that. But I would rather see them play against each other, honestly. So that's what I'm rooting for.
I don't know.
He stays on the Lakers, and I don't know, Bronny goes to the Cavs or the Knicks or wherever he goes, whoever sucks at that time. But I want to see them play against each other. I think that would be fun.
I don't know. I would love to see an alley-oop from LeBron to Bronny, or vice versa. I'm living for them. Oh, but
they can
I guess. I guess.
Okay, you guys. Well, that wraps up Need to Know News. Now, Chris, can you tell us what's happening on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter?
Thanks, Devin, for riling me up and then just throwing a segment at me. I really, really appreciate that. That means so much. But guys, welcome back to the Post Up with your boy Chris, quarantine edition. And as Devin said, we are going into the craziness that is social media with these athletes. And it would not be Post Up if I did not start off with the Post Up MVP himself, who we have not talked about in quite some time. That is Kyle Kuzma, because yesterday, as we've been saying, has worked Cinco de Mayo. And look at Mustache Kuzma. Stash Kuz is what I was calling on.
That's not real.
He looks real poppy, though. That's real.
That's what I'm saying.
That is real. He looks like a poppy.
I don't hate it. I just hate the pose more than I hate the mustache. I hate that he be looking at the camera with the that light skin glare. I don't want that. Yeah, like that's the problem I have. But the mustache, I no hate coming from me, but I heard the reactions coming from Devin and Jackie. Y'all not liking it.
Yeah, that's not. He looked like he got a van with no windows. I don't like this at all.
I like it. I like it for the situation. Yeah. I like it for Cinco de Mayo.
Exactly.
Shave it off later. Exactly. I don't want to see him playing basketball with that on his face.
Agreed. Yeah. Yes. That's what I'm looking at it too.
With the hat, though, it looks good with the hat. Right. I like it.
Yeah. And then get that thing out of here today.
He needs to settle down a little bit. He needs to chill out. He needs to stop with the outfit.
Look how chill he is. He's chilling. Devin, he's chilling right there in that picture, giving you the eyes, giving those light skin eyes. Like, hey, girl, you see my mustache.
He did chill with the outfit because he ain't got a shirt on right now. So the outfit he chilled with, he's.
But it's look, if the next picture we see is with Kyle posted up with some weird outfit in like one of those Dodge Caravan vans, I'm calling somebody. I'm calling the authorities. This is inappropriate, and I don't like it.
Yeah, somebody locked in there for sure.
I tried to come on here, man. You were getting no heat from me in this one, but you still got some, regardless. Because I'm seeing the comments going after you as well. But cool.
He has his ex-girlfriend, whatever her name is, locked in that van. Katia.
Oh my God.
Katia is in that van. He stole her back.
Oh my God, Mr. Steal Your Girl. Anyways, even though she's Mr. Steal Everybody. Anyway, but speaking of looking crazy, and Jackie over there talking real crazy about Kuzma, you better be paying attention to your boy, because he is getting no sympathy from anybody about not having anybody trimming up his beard. Because look at the side by side.
That is ridiculous. Why would you put him beside him? That is rude and inappropriate. No, he doesn't. Dude looks like a mutant ninja turtle. No, he does not look like Kimbo Slice. Stop it.
Side by side. Look at it. Look
at
it.
Stop it.
Jackie, that beard is going after his mouth. I am telling you, he is going for the Kimbo Slice. And I want to see him rock that on the court at least one game.
No, absolutely not. He must have zero trust in Savannah's facial skills. He lets him cut his hair, but he won't let her fix that. Like, come on. Savannah, just wait till he go to sleep and just get that done.
That's ridiculous. Chosen one with the comment of the post up saying, would like to see LeBron in a Timberwolves jersey.
Stop it right now. Stop it right now. None of that is funny. You guys are doing too much. Stop it.
I love it. Oh, my goodness. Quarantine LeBron looking rough. We got a little bit
why he doesn't get rid of it all.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Just go clean face.
We've seen a bare face. He looks like fine.
But the thing is, LeBron suffers from like permanent 5 o'clock shadow. So I'd rather have the beard than just walking around as if I'm always got.
No, I love a good 5 o'clock shadow. That is my favorite.
Mm-hmm. All girls do. We might not like kissing them because they're rough, but we all love the 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah, that 5 o'clock shadow.
That's
Get
everything.
it, LeBron.
Well, LeBron. Look, man, I'm beard gang, so I'm with you, LeBron. But you're hearing what the lady's saying. You gotta go with their opinion over mine. So do what you gotta do, LeBron. Moving on, we got some shade. Got a little bit of shade. I kind of see the shade, but a lot of people are talking about it on social media. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this. But we saw over the weekend, we saw the deeper dive on the behind the scenes and the opinions of Michael Jordan. How he wasn't really the kind of guy that's going to go and speak out vocally. Politically, not vocally, politically, on his stance. And he said the one thing he said, and Jackie wasn't a fan of that. We went back and forth on that whole thing. Well, all that being said, Isaiah Thomas, with no caption at all, posted this picture yesterday of him with Nelson Mandela rocking full Pistons gear. I thought this was photoshopped, and I'm like, yo, that's beyond petty, but I found this was a real picture. So I'm like, huh. And, going in on it, a bunch of people were responding to this as this is a reach. What are you doing? And again, Isaiah Thomas had no caption, just a picture, but people were going in as if he just said this long line of something, and people were going back and forth. So I want to start with you, Jackie. Do you believe that Isaiah Thomas posting this picture was a little bit of a undercut at his longtime nemesis, Michael Jordan?
Mm-hmm. This is definitely a WWJD. What would Jackie do? Because if all of this shade is going around about LeBron, Michael Jordan, and we're saying, he wasn't really down for the people, and he hasn't really proven that he's down for the people. He comes out and we still see him in his documentary talking about Isaiah. And I know that I have this moment to be like, oh, well, look, I'm standing next to a legend in Nelson Mandela, the man who is the epitome of standing for your own and social activism. I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to post this picture, you little sellout, and just let the people do the work for me. It's exactly what I would do. Clapping for Isaiah. Well played, sir. Well played. I love it.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that were co-signing Isaiah's post. But Brett, I have to ask you, because we've been going back and forth with Isaiah. He was even your L of the week on Weekend Zone. Seeing this post, do you think? What are you thinking of it? Do you think that it is an undercut, and do you think it's like, who cares, or what were your thoughts when you hear about this story and you see this picture?
Again, I don't care. Obviously, he's being petty. He's still just salty about not making the 92 Dream Team. He's still salty about losing that Eastern Conference Finals game against Michael Jordan, and the Bulls, and getting what could have been possibly their three-peat snatched away. So he's just mad. And I feel you. I would hate to lose. Y'all lost too, but it happens, and you need to get over it. And he, I'm sure Michael Jordan has pictures next to freaking everybody. He probably has pictures next to, I don't know, freaking the ghost of Martin Luther King Jr. I have no idea, but I
doubt it.
That is not where I thought you were going with that. Please, somebody find that
I couldn't think of that. Mother Teresa. Yeah, something like that. I don't know, but I don't care. He's just petty and being silly. Well, it doesn't matter who you were sitting next to. What did you do, Isaiah? What did you do? Don't stand next to somebody who's doing something. What did you do?
That's the key to me. I get it. I'm on both sides. I like the petty, but at the same time, what Britt just said, it's cool, but what did you do in this? I don't know if there was a speech that followed by it. I looked it up. I was looking everything about it. I just saw the picture. I don't know if he said something or if just Mandela was saying something on behalf of them. But yeah, what role did you play other than just being next to him while he was wearing Pistons gear? That was my only take back to that picture. But yeah. And then I saw somebody in the comments ruin a good moment by saying, hey, Chris, remember when Isaiah Thomas was the president of the Knicks? And to that I say, how do we ban that man? Anyways, moving on to the next one. Gabrielle Union. Now, it's known that we
talk about her every day on the Fumble.
She's taking a spot every day this week. Well, she out here being a savage in the eyes of social media. Now you could look at this, if you want to look at this with just, innocent eyes, and say that, Gabrielle Union was just giving a nice compliment to, let me rewind a little bit. Okay. Back in 2005, 2006, one of those 2 years when the All-Star game was in Denver, Dwayne Wade's wife at the time was at an event where she ran into Gabrielle Union. Now, Gabrielle Union took the time to go to her and said, hey, let me get the exact quote. Excuse me. She said, right to her. She said, "You tell your husband that I'm a big fan of his," smiled, and then walked away. So obviously you can think, like, knowing what we know now, where a lot of people are going like,
what you want. I don't think she was doing anything inappropriate, but I think that she probably just had a little crush. She really probably just did admire him. Never thought that she would actually end up with him. So looking back, it's funny, but I don't think it was like malicious in any way. What was that?
Do you know Gabby's history? Do you know
what
kind of hoe she was? Do you have any idea the whole level of Gabrielle Union? There's no way you can convince me there wasn't a little side wink, like, I'm a big fan of your husband, enjoy it while it lasts kind of shade. I don't know. You might need to read up on Gabby and revalue this, because I don't know. This is savage to me.
To me, it seems just almost too bold, too savage. I know her history. I know what she's like. I just didn't think that you'd go up to somebody's wife and be like, "Watch out, I'm coming."
Okay.
That's what I'm.
Would.
Okay.
Yeah, Britt, so you're thinking that this was the long goal. Like, this was like planting the seed right there. Like, let me tell you something. You're gonna see me with your man.
Yeah.
But secretly saying what she said.
Absolutely. She was going to get wifed up by somebody. I have friends that are older than me, and they used to tell me stories, like former NFL players and stuff, and they'd be like, Gabby would be at every single NBA party, like, trying to get her man. And like, her first husband was an NFL. Gabby she had fun though, girl. I'm not hating.
In this quarantine, Mr. Oh my goodness, FaceTime with LeVar Ball. Words, Christopher. Well, this guy got this conversation with LeVar Ball, and when LeVar saw the little pop-up or the little, what do they call it, fat head behind
Lakers, back on the Lakers.
Hey man, hey, just between me and you, man, we'll be back later.
What was that?
I said, just between me and you, they coming back to the Lakers later, man.
They coming back to the Lakers?
Woo!
Inside
Surprise
scoop, inside
ball.
scoop.
That'd be crazy, huh?
Yeah.
That's the inside scoop. Don't let them know that yet.
Yeah.
When we pop up all three of them over there, they're going to say, oh, man, I didn't know they was coming back, dog.
You told them.
Listen, man, I appreciate you.
Oh, LeVar.
Why does that kid act like he's getting in trouble for he's like keeps looking around all sketchy, like he's gonna have his parents walk in on him?
Super wild, that's what he said. But I mean, we can all agree, like, this is just, come on, LeVar just speaking. LeVar, and he's, dropping threes on everybody, winning 3-point competitions, leading the league in scoring and stuff like that. You don't think that there's a way that the Lakers are going to try their best to bring all three Ball brothers back onto Lakers? Or again, just LeVar just being LeVar?
No, and then I actually have a story on this later that'll come on after the show, but I'm all for that you can't, like, build a freaking boat to go across again. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, in all three of them, maybe one of the Ball boys ends up on the Lakers at some point, but I don't see all three of them playing together at the same time, especially when you've already, like I said, burned some bridges there. And I like Jackie's point. I think Lonzo's been doing a great job in New Orleans. Not saying he'll stay there for his career, but I think he's been playing well there, so why mess that up? Lamelo Ball is, like, literally, he can't get drafted by the Lakers or anything like that, so it's not going to happen anytime soon. And then obviously LiAngelo is on the OKC G League team. So, like, I just feel like they're spread out. I don't think, maybe two of them will come together at some point and play on some team, but I don't see all three on the Lakers. No way.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly hope that we at some point get to see them reunite on a team together at some point. We've seen it with almost every sibling, with all the siblings in the NBA right now. Both the Morris twins were on teams together. Both the Currys were on teams together.
The
Lopez brothers
were on a team
together right now.
Yeah,
exactly.
Antetokounmpo's,
exactly. People who don't even know those, the Martin twins are over there on the Hornets that look exactly like they're on the same team. So we see the siblings get to play with each other. So I'm hoping at some point they do come together at some team. But I'm not sure if it's going to be the Lakers. I think the person who has the best shot at being a Laker anytime soon is LiAngelo Ball, because he's going by way of G League, and if he does well, the Lakers can pick him up. Other than that, Lonzo's on contract. Melo's about to get drafted, so he'll be on contract. So, I think this is LeVar just talking and speaking into existence. And hey, who knows? Maybe he'll be right. And on to the last one. Britt, actually, you pointed this one out yesterday, and it made it here on the post up. I like this one. It was it was funny. It was adorable, and it was clever. The Korean Baseball League opened up yesterday, and they did their first pitch in the most social distancing way that you could ever think of. They put a whole kid into a big baseball bubble, and he was the pitch as he went from center field and walked all the way over to the guy at bat. If we can get that video up. There's no audio to it. Yeah. So he was literally the first pitch, and I thought this was really cool. They pointed this out to us yesterday. It was creative. And look at the stand, like he is taking this serious. Look at the walk. Look at the confidence in the walk. He's going there. He is proud of what he's doing.
Knees up.
Yes. You know, hit it with the bat, and then he goes over there and he fist bumps the guy with the barrier between them. It was a cool moment. I thought it was really enjoyable. Hopefully, when the MLB comes back, we see something clever like this too. When they we get some baseball back. Hopefully, we can get all the sports back. But I love that. That was a dope moment. Had to fit that in there. But that is it for me over here on the post up.
All right, Jackie, I want to hear about the weird things happening in the world right now. Can you fill us in?
All right, yeah, let's get to some of these WTF moments. And, you know, Chris just told us about a picture that Isaiah Thomas posted that definitely was some shade for Michael Jordan. And apparently he's not alone in the shade, although this one is a little bit more dignified shade. Two-time NBA champ and three-time three-point all-star shooter Craig Hodges is not a fan of some of the things that Jordan said in The Last Dance. During an interview with Odd Couple, he explained how he didn't like that Jordan was speaking on the Bulls traveling cocaine circus. He also didn't like that Jordan said that Scottie Pippen was being selfish and how he handled his contract. Chris and I spoke about that as well on the After the Dance show that we did. We both agreed with that. But the cocaine aspect seemed very unnecessary to him. Hodge said, quote, "As players, we call this a fraternity. So I'm watching this first episode and I was upset about the cocaine circus. That bothered me because I was thinking about the brothers who are in that picture with you, and you have to explain that to their families who are getting ready to watch this great Michael Jordan documentary event, and they know you're on the team, and now you have to explain that to a 12-year-old boy." So I get what he's saying, kind of, but at the same time, if you know you're on the team and you know that a documentary is coming out and you know you did some shady things, there's a chance that it's going to be in there. I think you use it as a teaching moment. I think we all can learn from our past. I don't think it's necessarily Jordan betraying the fraternity. I think he's just literally documenting something that literally everybody was doing at the time. We've talked about it several times, how prevalent cocaine was back then. It wasn't like it was this taboo thing. It was just a thing. So I think you take it as an opportunity to kind of teach your kids. But that's me personally. But what I really found the most interesting about the interview was that Chris Hodges wanted to do this huge moment in NBA history to make a statement. And before the 91 finals with the Bulls were playing the Lakers. So Hodges went to Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, and he wanted to stage a boycott of the NBA finals to kind of make a statement about the lack of diversity in the NBA ownership. So let's take a listen to what he has to say about that.
Like in lockouts in the past. So for me, I was saying at that point in 1991, one of the issues was we don't have enough black ownership, black general managers, black executives, and the like. My position was 21 of the 24 athletes are black. And that if we have any type of, work stoppage, we know how the game works. If the Lakers and the Bulls are getting ready to come out for the first game and we're not out there by 19 minutes on the clock, somebody's going to have a problem with that.
Yeah, so I thought this was really dope because it kind of puts him ahead of the curve if he would have been successful in this. But he said both Magic and Michael Jordan said it was too extreme. So, Chris, my question is for you. If he actually had been successful in convincing the two biggest stars in the NBA at that time to actually do this, do you think we would feel differently, especially since we've been talking about how a lot of us don't think that Michael Jordan is down for the culture? Do you think that we feel different about that? And do you think it would have had a positive or a negative impact on Michael Jordan's career?
I think with everything we've learned I think it would have been a good idea, but I think it might have had a negative impact. I mean, I could see how it would definitely have a positive, but I feel like it might have a negative impact just because of how we're seeing how Michael Jordan tends to not really handle that kind of stuff very well, and I feel like this would be no different. I find this story funny because in that After the Last Dance video that we did, I had asked, do you think that any of the guys that were in that situation are going to be mad at MJ and that he snitched out on them? And here we go, Chris Hodges. Now, but 2 weeks later, he's like, yeah, I'm hot. So yeah, but I don't know. I can see how it could go positively, but I personally believe it might have gone across a bit negatively.
Just because people would have, why? Do you think it would have been like backlash from fans or owners or both?
Both. I mean, at least that's why I feel. I think in that instance, but I could be wrong.
Okay. So, Devin, next question is for you. We know that Michael Jordan had control over this documentary. Do you think he was wrong to talk about the cocaine use, or do you think it was an important part of the story?
I don't think it was wrong at all. We were actually, I'm in the chat here, like chiming in with everybody, and I said in there that I'm personally glad that we got this uncut, raw version of what happened. I don't think it would have felt right if it was censored or if things were left out or if it was sugar coated. There are bits of the documentary that don't paint Michael Jordan himself in the best light. So I think that it's good that we're getting a deep dive look into everything that went down. And I guess the only thing that I could have seen happen that might have been beneficial is if MJ, texted or emailed some of his former teammates and said, hey, in episode 2 or whichever episode that was, we're talking about the cocaine circus. So if you don't want your 12-year-old watching it, here's your warning. But beyond that, I think you have to expect that everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, is all going to be in there. And I think that's what the fans wanted. And that's partly why the documentary is so successful. So I think it's good. I don't think it was wrong to include it. And anybody who's upset about it, I mean, yeah, use it as a learning experience. Like you said, Jackie, that's a great way to handle it.
Yeah, I agree. And, this Last Dance has everyone talking, including the Reverend Stephen A. Smith, who I never agree with. And I kind of agree with him on this one. But because he sounds like he's supposed to be in a pulpit. But I kind of agree with him on this one, but he switches it up at the end. But he said LeBron's teammates, to me, because I've said this time and time again, that I think that LeBron has had it way harder than MJ had it. LeBron's teammates, with the exception of Dwayne Wade and the Miami squad, he's just had to be the everything, whereas MJ had a really dope supporting cast. And so when you consider the type of teams he played with, I think it was just tougher for him. And Stephen A. kind of agrees, but then he kills it for me. So let's take a listen.
John Stockton pick and roll and all. LeBron James having to go through Golden State, losing to Dallas, going through KD, Russell Westbrook, Harden, those boys, even though they were young, still tough. San Antonio twice. We can't ignore that LeBron had a rougher road in the finals. But to get to the finals, I mean, please, LeBron was on a honeymoon.
Did you hear the preacher though? It was coming out, but I don't like that part of it. I mean, I guess technically he's right, but I just think that MJ like I said, they were just more in sync, and I think that they kind of just swept over people too. Once they got, of course, it took them time to develop that and get in tune with each other. But then once they got in tune with each other, they were just swatting people away like flies. So I don't know if I necessarily think that it was that much harder for Jordan. But Britt, what is your take on what Stephen A. has to say about all this?
I think it's right as far as leading up to, because we talk about it every single time we mention the NBA, is the Eastern Conference is pretty darn easy. So it is easy to slide through and get to that point in the Eastern Conference, versus back then we're talking about all the good teams were from the Western Conference. You don't count the Houston Rockets or whatever at the time, or even the Phoenix Suns and stuff, which obviously they met in the actual NBA finals. But if you're all the teams that were really good, the Knicks to get through and the Pistons and stuff like that, the Eastern Conference was the better of the conferences. Even going from the Lakers and Celtics thing, the Celtics kind of dominated more towards the end of that and stuff. And the Eastern Conference, and I think both conferences were pretty level-headed. They were both really good, but like Eastern Conference, hands down, we all know has been a cakewalk for a lot of teams. If you're semi-decent in the Eastern Conference, you're going to make the playoffs. You're going to be good. You can literally look at it today, the Western Conference, how close they are. And like, you know, even the 10th seed we're talking about as being a potential that could make it into the playoffs if we end up having playoffs again. But the Eastern Conference has been cake. And like, that's a very easy thing to say because LeBron has been in the Eastern Conference up until now, and then obviously now he's going to have a different kind of battle going through these other rounds because you're going to have the 1 through 8 in the Western Conference, which is going to be difficult to get through. Like, I can't say who's going to win the Western Conference as easier as I could say the Eastern Conference, and that's just known facts. So I would say that is a semi-true statement. In and of itself, it's going to be different between different things. Like each decade or time period is going to have a conference that's going to be more dominant than the other. It kind of just always works like that. And it happened to be that Jordan played on a harder conference at the time and LeBron played in an easier conference.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I kind of agree with Stephen A, but you know, I think obviously these comparisons are going to get more intense now because we actually have nothing else to talk about except for these, you know, kind of comparisons and this last dance.
Right.
So I personally cannot wait things to return to normal, but that's all I have for right now. So now it's time to get Chris. Are you ready? I'm just going to give you a moment to get your sound effects ready.
Yeah, good.
Because now it's time for Brit's takes.
Brit's takes.
Good. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So we got a little bit of time. So I'm going to run through this one because I thought this was interesting. The last day or two, everyone's been talking a lot about Baker Mayfield, who is Jackie's favorite guy. So I thought this would be a great takes for today. Is it better to be overrated or underrated at the beginning of your sports career? So in this particular instance, I'm going to focus on Baker Mayfield because that is relevant news right now. Baker was drafted, obviously, we know, with the first overall pick in the 2018 draft by the Browns. And he actually, going into college or going into the NFL, had a great last year of college. He was awarded the Walter Camp Award, the Maxwell Award, the Davey O'Brien Award, the AP Player of the Year Award, and of course the Heisman Trophy. So it's, you know, going in one pick, but he wasn't the guy that was starting at the beginning of the season, you know, like he wasn't one of those quarterbacks that came in his rookie year and was supposed to start on game 1. In fact, he actually didn't even start till game 3. When he was going into college, he was like a walk-on at Texas Tech, you know, kind of moved his way up and became great. And we kind of thought that same path was going to happen with him in the NFL. So he joined the Browns, and Tyrod Taylor, who is now, obviously we know, with the Chargers, was the original starting quarterback. But Tyrod Taylor got hurt in week 3, which happened to be a Thursday night football game, which we all know is one of the most watched games of the week. It's a primetime game. Everybody wants Thursday night or Monday night game because that is the big stage. It happened to be a Thursday night game that Tyrod Taylor got injured in. In that game, they were playing the Jets, 2 horrible teams, I know, but they were playing the Jets on Thursday Night Football. At the time that Taylor got hurt, the Jets were up 14-0. So really, Baker coming into the game, he didn't really have pressure in that situation. He was like, I wasn't supposed to start the game. I'm not supposed to even be the starting quarterback this season, but I'm getting thrown into this situation. There's no expectations on me, right? Well, he ends up going out and having a killer game, 17 of 23. He passed for 201 yards, winning the game 21-17, which actually broke the 19-game losing streak that the Browns had at that point in time. And he became the first player since 1961 to come off the bench in his debut as a rookie and throw for more than 200 yards, leading his team to a win. First player since 1961. Then this man goes absolutely crazy. He breaks all of these records for the Browns and for the league. He ended up being Rookie of the Year 7 times that season. He was Offensive Rookie of the Year, Rookie of the Week 7 times, and then Rookie of the Year that season. And then he still to this day holds the record for the most passing touchdowns by a rookie in NFL history at 27. Great rookie season, right? Well, then we get into the sophomore slump, which most people have to deal with. Like, most players kind of have a sophomore slump that happens during their career, and everyone kind of expects it. Now we're at a point where it's just like, okay, who is the real Baker Mayfield? Is it the rookie Baker Mayfield that we saw, or is it the sophomore slump Baker Mayfield that we saw? Well, I'll tell you what I think it might be. When Baker Mayfield goes into situations as the underdog, where he's not expected and doesn't have expectations, like he did when he was in college, being a guy that was a walk-on without a scholarship, and then being a guy going into the league, even though he was the first overall pick, he wasn't necessarily expected to start that season. I think he thrives in those moments, but when the expectation is to win and to be great, I think he feels the pressure a bit much. So my Brits take, because I think everyone kind of believes in the underdog role as being the better role, I think it depends on the situation. In this case of Baker Mayfield, his rookie year, he lived up to what people thought he could be, because he wasn't expected to do that at that time and be in that game and, change the game and win and all of this kind of stuff. Nobody had expectations of that. But then you go into next year where it's like, okay, well, you got Jarvis Landry and now you got Odell too. So no mess ups now. You can't mess this up. And he did mess it up because his expectations were so high. When I think a player is overrated, though, I think it almost ends up being better for them because they actually get more chances. If Baker Mayfield was an underrated quarterback going into that situation last year, the sophomore slump, he would not be with the Browns at this point in time. Like, I think overrated players get more and more chances than guys that are underrated. Guys that are underrated get one shot at it, and if they blow that one shot, no one ever sees them again. But guys that are overrated, we continue to give them more and more shots because it's like, well, we've seen him be great in a situation. He's actually not being great right now, but we're going to keep rolling with it. I think the same thing is true for coaches. Look at Marvin Lewis. He had a job forever, and he did not produce a pretty decent team for a really long time. So my question first is to you, Chris. At what point do you think we need to stop giving overrated players more chances? Like, when have they had too many chances?
Ooh, that is a great question.
Thank you.
I feel like the answer to that question, I don't know if it'll ever happen where people will stop giving overrated players enough chances, because that just comes with the name of being overrated. But I think I think it was you that agree with me. I feel like in basketball and football especially, it takes about a 3-4 year, period of time for these kids to, see who they actually are. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like I'm going to stick with that for the overrated, like the top three, the guys that you're expecting all this stuff from. I think the same thing goes for them. I feel like that 3-year, 4-year gap, you give them the chance to go through the lumps of playing professionally for the first time in their career, then getting different teammates, different players, possibly getting new coaches, going through all of that while still trying to produce the product that people are expecting them to do. And if it comes like year 3 and you're not seeing any kind of like change or any kind of like difference, I think that's at the point where it's like you become overrated for the wrong reason. You're overrated because we all believed in you, but you're not showing to be the player that we all thought you're going to be. So he's definitely an overrated player. I feel like we've seen that with, like you said, I mean, we're on year 3 now with Baker. Johnny Manziel, exactly. There's tons of guys. Right, Tim Tebow, DeMarcus Russell. Like, there's so many guys that we've seen that case, and I feel like they all had that. Johnny Manziel a little less, but that they had that 2-3 year gap where they were able to, try and improve themselves, but they were just what they were, overrated. So I'll go by like a 3-year window. I'm gonna stick with 3. I like the number 3.
Okay. And for Jackie, do you think Baker being overrated will help or hurt him in the long run in his career? Do you think he will get enough chances to where he can kind of get back on the, I'm actually a decent quarterback, not throwing 20 interceptions in a season? Or do you think that like this overrated thing is kind of going to become almost too much pressure for him to handle? Like I said before, I feel like he does better when he's more of the underdog than when he's like, people expect him to be great. But do you think him getting those chances, because he is overrated, that is going to help him in the long run as far as like he's going to figure out his career and get those opportunities to finally smooth things out and be a decent quarterback?
I'm kind of looking at the chat here, and Cause Controversy says no excuses, winners win, losers lose. And I kind of agree with that. I mean, I feel like, especially Baker Mayfield, because he kind of came into an organization where you don't have to do much to look really good. You know what I mean? So the fact that he has been successful at looking bad kind of speaks volumes to me. I do think he'll get just as many chances as he needs because of the organization that he's in. And I actually would have to see what happens to him next year because, like you said, he had a great rookie year. We can chalk this one up, and I think that that's a fair statement. And even though we've seen people who really don't go through the sophomore slump, I think you have to recognize that the soft slump is a real thing, and you have to let them go through that so we can see how they come out on the other side. So I do think that this is going to be his defining season. Me personally, especially if I was running an organization that has been trash for so long, I don't know how many chances I can even afford to give you because of my fan base. You know what I mean? Because at some point it's like, all right, we have to be successful. And we have Jarvis Landry, we have Odell Beckham, and we have you, and we have other guys here that are proven in their talent, and you've not even been able to get one of them the ball like at all. So whose fault is it? Every organization needs a scapegoat. So who are we blaming this on? And unfortunately, I know Chris is like, no, give him time. I'll give him one more year. And then if he comes out on the other side of this, then now I'm like, okay, even if he throws 20 touchdowns like he did, but not 21 interceptions. And, he's like Jameis Winston. He went 20 for 21. So even if you can 20 touchdowns and maybe 10 interceptions, you know what I mean? Because his passing yardage is great. So he clearly has the talent. I do agree with you that he's in his own head in some way, but me as an organization, that is not my problem. It is your problem to figure out how to get out in your head and to get out on that field and succeed. And if you cannot do that, this has to be your last year with my organization. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So really quick, I'm just going to do a yes or no for the whole entire panel. Do you think, because he did have a great rookie season, he had a bad year last year, do you think this year, his third season, is his make or break year? Yes or no? Chris, I'll start with you.
For sure.
Jackie said yes. Chris?
I agree with Jackie on that one. Yeah, yes. It's fitting with that 3-4 year gap.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for Bits Takes. Right. Thanks, guys.
Nice one.
Conversation. The chat was going off. I love that. So you guys, before you go, make sure you subscribe to the Fumble and tap the bell for notifications so you always know when we're going live, when we have a new video. Below if you weren't able to tune in during the live stream, and of course give this video a thumbs up. Wash your hands. Let's do the handshake. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Bye, guys.
Bye.